Happy day. Happy
Hello.
podcast day.
Yes.
Yes. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
No accent today. I cannot start it off that way.
You can't start it off with an accent.
I'm all right. It's hard to know how to answer that question sometimes.
Right?
I woke up numb today. I woke up, at least I was aware of it. I woke up going, I feel nothing. And I think I'm okay with that today. And then I started reflecting and I'm like, nope, that's not good. The disassociation is real. And I know that we do it a lot of times to be able to survive and do what we need to do every single day. But someone that has gotten to see, I don't even know.
Up close and personal.
Yeah, gotten to see me through the very beginning of this to now. Not many people have. I don't show anybody all of it, right?
Mm.
But he recently said to me, because I said I detach, I disassociate, it's what I do, and I'm having a hard time not just automatically going into that. And he's like, yeah, it's become part of your identity. It's just who you are now. You've rewired your brain to be like that, and you have to consciously stop it. And today I woke up knowing, with that awareness, okay, you're numb, you're disassociating, not really sure how to tap back into it.
Yeah.
How to get into the feelings.
Sometimes you kind of get stuck in it, in the numb, and then everything floods back at once, and it flips the switch in the back of your brain, like, all right, everything's back on now, and it's not for long.
Yeah.
Until we're like, okay, shut down again to survive.
Yeah.
And to function.
I want there to be that balance. I want us to be able to get into balance, which it's a lot to want right now.
Yeah.
I think we're doing a good job. No, not always.
Sometimes.
Sometimes we're doing a good job considering everything that's happened. But so we recently, since the last episode, right, we had a conversation with him that we had not had.
Yeah.
Was that?
We did.
That's been since the last episode we recorded, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because it was over the weekend that we had that conversation.
So, because of Luke's condition, and for other reasons too, we had not fully had the conversation with Luke about the car accident, about who we lost in the car accident.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things, I mean, he's nonverbal, but he was in a coma for a while. Sometimes we don't know where he's cognitively at. But lately, we have known that he is here more and more. And so,
there's
you
been
and
a switch in consciousness.
Yeah, yeah. And you and I have been, I think, feeling it. He's got headphones on today in both ears, so he's watching his show.
He chose to have both AirPods in this time.
He
doesn't want to deal with us.
Yeah, he's needing to disassociate. He's in his angry feels today, and that's okay. So. But you and I have been feeling like, hey, we need to have this conversation. We just kept tabling it. We kept pushing it back. And then, I don't know, you looked at me and you were like, yeah, that conversation needs to happen.
Yeah, it was over the weekend because, I don't know, especially with things, conversations that have been had around him, and more so just like, no, we just need to have an open and honest conversation and just address things that haven't been yet.
I mentioned in one of the episodes that we have his whole... Every room he's been in at every facility and then at home has pictures up of the night of the event, life up until that point, and then after that point. There's pictures of all parts of his life up there, and one of them being a picture of him and his nurses, which we've talked about, and him in the coma. He looks at that one all the time. And then you have another picture next to it, which was just the week before of an outing on St. Patrick's Day of all of you guys, with Morgan in it, our friend who passed away. And we have mentioned it, me accidentally a lot, not catching myself, mentioned it around him when he was in the coma, when he wasn't. But yeah, there's been a lot of conversations that have been had that like we're like, he either has figured it out or he just knows.
Mm-hmm. And recently he's expressed that he does remember the accident, and then him remembering that, I'm like, okay, well then if he's remembering more and more, then it's something that he might remember being...
Yeah,
like,
so
in it with her. So
you, Anthony, and I had Luke on the deck outside on a nice evening, and we had the conversation with him. And I will say the Luke, who he was before all this, was someone that he did not avoid confrontation. Never. He was someone who liked to just kind of rip band-aids off and address things, especially the last year before all this happened. He was making amends with people, but at least in my life, he never tiptoed around things. He was very direct. Sometimes it was like, can you be a little softer with that?
Yeah, no, he did. Wasn't his style.
Yeah, so I think that it was just one of those where it was like, it has to happen. And we had the conversation, and he was fully conscious for all of it.
Yeah.
He remembered more than we thought, or at least I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But Anthony mentioned something at one point in the conversation, and I was like, I had thought it, but hearing Anthony say it out loud, I felt like I had the wind knocked out of me. And I'm curious how you felt, or if anything at all, when he said... So I made the comment to Luke of like, I'm really sorry that we haven't had this conversation with you. Have you felt alone in your grief?
Yeah.
And he said yes. And I think that just kind of hit us all. I hadn't thought about it. It just kind of came out. And as I was saying it, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that part, his grief. And then Anthony made the comment of, you're not the only one that's felt like that. I felt that way too, because I have not been able to grieve her.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, just saying that out loud, it was like, yeah, no, and that's been huge. We have not been able to even begin to process it. And here, this is where the disassociating stops. But yeah, how were you with that conversation?
I feel like I've been able to confront it more than you guys have been. The times where I would go to the cemetery and just have time to just sit there and talk with her and just cry and light a candle, and that's been the times where I've been able to confront it and feel it and try to work through it. But you guys haven't been able to have that yet. And it's made things easier as time goes on. And then we went to go see her yesterday, and it just brought everything back up again. So it's just like a loop.
You and Anthony did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was Anthony's first time there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you say it was like it's a loop, what?
You think that, I don't know, it'll get easier. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's a perpetual cycle of, I don't know.
There's this part where anyone who's lost anyone, I think, in any way, but like specifically when it's a younger person, when it's traumatic, tragic, unexpected, again, the grief just hits different. Yeah. And it's just so hard to accept. And I don't know when I'll get to a point where I've accepted it. I think now it's like I was holding back my grief unconsciously because he couldn't grieve. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that until our conversation. He's looking really sad now. I wonder what's happening in Supernatural.
These are some emotional episodes, so.
But I think the other part of that too is we have felt her presence with us from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And there's been so many times when he was in the coma, when he wasn't, where he would just like open his eyes and he would look at someone and like move his lips, and like we would feel like, do you see someone? Is someone in the room with us?
It would just be one of us, and then he would look on the other side of the bed as if somebody was sitting next to him on the bed or in a chair and just stare. Yeah. And then we've had multiple things happen in the hospitals here.
I mean, talk about the one time, I don't think we got into it. We went through kind of why he was ping-ponging from different facilities and the reasons for that. We talked about the hematoma in the leg, the new brain bleed and new stroke. So talk about that whole incident.
The hematoma in particular?
Yeah, just that whole incident of us trying to get them to take him, and they would not listen to us for days, trying to get him to leave the facility, go to the ER.
So he was already not looking the best and not doing the best.
And we knew it was brain related.
Yeah, we knew it was his brain. His vitals were fluctuating, but they were super unconcerned by that. And then you guys had gone to the post office the one day.
Yes.
And it was just me and him. And you guys had said, one leg was swollen. And so I was stretching his legs. I looked at the one, and it was his left leg was double the size of his right leg. And we're like, okay, that's something.
Because earlier in the day, when Anthony and I were there stretching him in the morning, Anthony saw something and he looked at it and he said, like, let's watch this. but it was almost nothing. And so this was only hours later.
Yeah, and it was huge. It looked like
You
an
sent
elephant's leg.
You sent Anthony a picture, and he was dumbfounded, like, because we needed to go get something notarized. He had just parked, and he was dumbfounded and just showed me the phone, and I was like, oh my God.
And then it was just this tiny little bruise on like his inner thigh, and then by the time that it was us fighting back and forth, that hematoma had grown to the size of a head on his thigh. And we got to the ER. They're like, we have no idea where this came from. It looks like he got hit with a baseball bat on his inner thigh. And if it wasn't for them seeing that hematoma on his leg and taking that, of all things, seriously, his blood levels were so low that he only had a couple more hours.
Before he would have died.
But yeah, before he would have died.
He had lost so much blood.
And if it wasn't for that hematoma, we wouldn't have gotten him to the hospital because he was bleeding in his brain. It was completely unrelated to what was going on in his body.
Were like,
we have no idea.
Explanation of this. We understand this, but they're not.
And they're
connected.
like, was he dropped? And like, no, he hasn't left the bed. Nobody turns him. We do all of his stuff.
They asked, would they're in the middle of the night maybe? Did someone abuse him at this facility? We're like, they're not equipped, but there's no way. They're not like that.
No, and that was Morgan.
Yeah.
She definitely punched him in the leg to do something to get them to listen to us.
Well, and explain a hematoma for anyone who's listening that wouldn't know what a hematoma is.
So a hematoma is just a bruise. It's just a very large bruise.
Like internal bleeding, if you will, on the inside. And it grows and moves and can become, it's going to kill you if you don't stop it.
Yeah, they did so many scans on it. They did ultrasounds on it, a CT on it. And they're like, there is no explanation for it. No blood vessels burst, like no vein or artery exploded. It's just unexplainable.
They were able to get the brain and the leg stabilized enough so that he could begin to start healing for that second wave of everything. But that was definitely, and correct me, and I could, sometimes this happens, things get fuzzy. Was that right around the time where I was showing him the picture boards and we were having him point because he was having more lucid moments and he kept pointing and tapping to her picture? Because we have a video of it. It was after. It was once we got back.
When we got back to Metro, yeah.
There was just so many moments that it was uncontrollable. And, you know, someone else could say that was God. That was, regardless, it was supernatural.
It was Morgan.
It felt, and again, there's been so many things, but that was a huge one for us.
Mm-hmm. And then when we were back at Metro, when they did an EEG on him, I'm sure it's on the video of the EEG, trash can moving.
Oh, yeah.
The trash can. Yeah. I'm standing there looking at the EEG machine, and the big trash cans in hospital rooms moved. Like a good couple inches.
Yeah.
The sanitizer dispensers would go off. The paper towel dispensers would go off. He would stare off.
Even the nurses would be like...
Oh, what facility was it where... No, it was when we were back at Metro, and the call button kept going off. Yes. And people kept coming in. Rushing. And we're like, nothing's going on. And they're like, well, the call light keeps going off. And it was he did need something. Yeah. It was one of the times right before he went back to surgery again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the little things that...
There's very much been woven through this entire thing of the supernatural force. Morgan, at times feeling like your uncle.
Yeah.
We don't feel alone. And Morgan was such a special, magical person, and you could say that about a lot of people, but she was very unique, and the ball of just magic, like, and light that she would bring to any situation has been so evident because everything's been done with a sense of humor as well. Mm-hmm. And she was so funny naturally. She just had this gift of being able to make anyone laugh. It's been a really cool, special thing. And so at times it's almost like she is still here, but not in the way that we want her to be. So yeah, we asked him today if he would want to go
to see
her at the cemetery, and he said yeah. So that's something that we can do, a little adventure together with Anthony. That would be nice.
Mm-hmm. And I forgot to tell you, we did take Aria with us yesterday, too.
Aww.
And because she asks questions about things and just says things randomly, and she said it before to him about the accident. She is aware enough of things where she brings stuff up and we're like, no, can't bring that up yet.
Yeah.
And she had her list of things, and I got her a wand yesterday because she's been wanting a magic wand. And
Yes, oh my gosh,
when we
she
were at the
definitely
cemetery, I'm like, tell Morgan what you have in the car. She's like, I have a wand. Mommy got it for me and I can freeze people. And I'm like, you know how your middle name is Elena? And she's like, yeah. I was like, Morgan used to call you Elena all the time. So when you grow up, if you want your name to be Elena, I think Morgan would really like that. And Anthony is like crying, but looks over at me like, you ass.
Like, no, that's not okay.
I'm like, one day she's just going to be like, my name is Elena. And it's going to be Morgan guiding her from the other side, being like, your name's Elena. Your name is Elena.
And Arya, yeah, actually they would have really hit it off if even knowing each other now, because she's come out in her personality so much. So I love that you guys brought her, because Arya is, even though, I mean, she's only 3, she comprehends more than adults do sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also just the awesomeness of children and their purity, but sometimes she just teaches me so much. And then her grasping what happened and knowing the grief, but also being able to hold that joy at the same time.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Even just being at the cemetery, as soon as we pulled in and she saw headstone, she knew we were at a cemetery. And then she goes, Daddy, I wish your daddy could come back. I'm sorry. And that awareness in a 3-year-old is insane.
Yeah.
I wasn't that aware as a 3-year-old.
So sometimes you guys have sleepovers here when it's your night to hang out with Luke. And there was a day that I came back from a trip recently, and it was early in the morning. She was awake. You guys were sleeping. And so she wanted to come by me. So I took her down to my room, and she wanted to color. And I have some of the recordings of it because I recorded it. It was so precious. She wanted to draw a picture. And hold on, I think I wrote it down. Sometimes when little kids say something, I write it down because it's just so profound, and I know that I will mess it up down the road. So let me see. Because I think, did I end up sharing that with you?
Yeah, you did. I don't remember what she said, but I remember you had it in a note that you showed.
So she wanted to make this picture. Arya looks at me with her big brown eyes, frowning, and hugs me. And I said, Arya, are you sad right now? And she said, well, yeah, of course I am. Kind of like, duh, because she's got that in her.
Just because that's sassy.
And I said, do you want to share with me why you're sad, Nugget? And she said, having a hard time getting out, because, Chrissy, there's not always happy endings. You can see it all around us, can't you, Chrissy? Wait, I have an idea. I will color everyone pictures. Where's your markers, and get me some paper too, a lot of it. And then she had the crazy laugh. I'm like, that's a sweet idea. Make sure to say please. And for me, it was just one of those realizations that she had been experiencing her own grief. And we as adults don't even know how to maneuver through it and navigate through it, let alone feel it without it destroying us. Mm-hmm. And here this little 3-year-old is holding it all, and then her wanting to take the grief and use it as a catalyst to make someone feel better. I don't know. That just really hit me that morning, and I hadn't slept. It was a red-eye flight that I took, and I just sat there crying as she colored, and she drew like 3-year-olds do. It was just a blob. But she's like, this is a happy ending. She just definitely feels her own grief. She absorbs our grief. And she's already a very good child. I know I tell you guys that a lot, but she's already this great child. But she then, on top of it, has all this grief that she doesn't know what to do with. And she can still find ways to infuse joy and laughter and her sarcasm into these situations. And I'm just like, how is she even functioning to do that right now?
Yeah.
But she's definitely a gift, and I feel like I'm sure there's some times where Morgan's channeling some of
in
herself
through her.
into it.
Yeah.
Because she says things and we're like, what?
Where did you pull that out of? Because there's no way. And sometimes I'll look at her and I'm like, how old are you? How old are you? Is this your second time here? How do you know these
Right?
things? Like, you're way too smart.
But I think, again, that's just, I don't know. As humans, as we get older, we definitely lose a lot of our magic. The other day, I was like, I was really working before all this to get to a place where that escapism, that I didn't have to escape and go on a trip and go do something, an event. I wanted it to enjoy doing the dishes, taking the garbage out, cleaning my toilet. When you're sick, I broke a tooth, a kidney infection. I wanted to be able to not need to escape, to enjoy my life so much in the mundane. And in December, right before all this, I had put a poem I wrote to a spoken word and did this video. And it's basically like the magic in the mundane in the middle. And I was rereading it yesterday, and just like, we've said so many times how Luke literally in so many ways was prepared for this. Mm-hmm. We feel like in our ways we were prepared for this. But I was reading this and I'm lying reading this going, my subconscious was preparing me to deal with this because, you guys, you scheduled a trip that's going to be happening next year for the two of you. I've had trips this year. You went on a solo one without Anthony. We do have these things that we know we need to do to still feed into ourselves. But I want to be able to not have it be this desperate, I need to get out, but I'm terrified to get out of the bubble. I don't want to have to escape our reality. I want to be as present as possible without disassociating, because then I go out there and I disassociate too. So it's like...
Yeah, and it's hard to function out there when you are like... When you're in it, you're like, oh, I just need to get out. I just need a breather just for a little bit. And then you're out there and then you still can't breathe. And you're like, well, I can't enjoy this either. And then you're just in a perpetual of what the fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just feel like it's a more magnified version of what I was already doing because this extra layer of trauma. But I feel like I was already doing that in some ways because I had a broken heart, right? So from my health stuff, my divorce, dating on dating apps, being with a crazy stalker, con artist,
psychotic,
who still won't leave me alone. There was so much of that, of this balance. There's a quote that Luke and I had on the board, a Ram Dass quote, and he and I, for much of 2023, because that quote's been on the dry erase board for a while, where we would hold each other accountable to it. So it's a feeling of aversion or attachment towards something is your clue that there is work to be done. I had told him I've always been attracted to that quote because for all of my life, I've literally been here or there, not in this middle. And I think that that's a common thing. I think so many people want to escape the middle. Even people we know that have been directly touched by this or, separated by 3 degrees, but still affected by this, they can move on. But we know from interactions with them, they haven't processed it. They haven't accepted it.
Yeah.
They're literally disassociating and moving on because no one likes the middle. We all want to skip to the better parts.
Yeah, we don't want to feel anything. It's very much I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to table it for later. Yeah. And then later never comes and it's just festering.
Yeah.
And nobody is ready to sit in the grief, feel it.
And I think that when my time comes, that I leave this earth in the human form that I am, I want to be able to know that in those last seconds that I gave it all and I allowed it all. I didn't waste any of it. And I'm not doing that right now. So it's like, okay, I have work to do, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know how to go about it.
Yeah, no, this weekend trying to confront things and feel things was a lot. Led me down some rabbit holes of
So talk
thought.
about that. Yeah, you took the weekend off.
Yep. We had date night, which was weird. To try to have a conversation that we're not here.
Yeah.
It was weird trying to force a conversation.
Because you actually went to a restaurant.
Yeah, we actually went to a
restaurant. Did you
restaurant.
A shower and put your makeup on?
I did, and did my hair.
Did you have a cute fit out?
Yeah, I wore my romper and jean jacket.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, went out. And then tried to convince him to go somewhere after, and he was like, I just want to go home. I'm like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
It's like the quota for him is just a dinner. At least I got him to a restaurant.
Right.
Inside.
With other human beings.
Yeah.
And you ate a whole meal there.
Yeah.
Not on a couch or standing in the kitchen. Doing other things.
Taking a bite, doing something, coming back, taking another bite, and then realizing, oh, it's been 4 hours and I've taken 2 bites of my slice of pizza.
And I don't even remember what it tastes like. But
Yeah, but it was nice. And then we're like, let's do an edible. And then watch a comedy. And that's what we did. We watched Shane Gillis.
yes. Okay, which Shane Gillis Luke is a big fan of.
Yeah, Anthony cringed through some of it. Oh.
Well, Anthony, I can see him because he's on a very different belief.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that was rough. Because I just look over at him and he's like, It's like some parts were really funny of his stand-up. Other parts were just like, ooh, that's maybe a little bit too soon.
Yeah. I'm going to go adjust homeboy.
But after all the laughing and everything, we had like real talks and
Yeah, tell me about that.
trying to get boys to confront emotions and feel things. And I don't know. I think that there's such a stigma over men feeling feelings and still being men. And the repressing of emotions when it's just like, feel it or you're stuck. If this doesn't serve you, it's not sustainable to just fester. I don't know.
I have all sorts of commentary that I should probably refrain from because I don't want it to seem like I'm attacking the guy. But
Yeah, no, but then that led me down my own rabbit hole of thought. And then I'm like, well, fuck. Like, I always thought that I would know when, or at least, I didn't think I would make it this far in life.
How so? What do you mean by that?
I didn't think I would make it into my 20s.
Because
Mental health stuff.
so okay, tell me more. What does that mean?
So, like, suicide attempts
Okay.
and stuff like that. So I didn't think that I would make it this far, and now when we were talking, and I had, like, a moment to be like, oh, fuck, like, no, my punishment for not wanting to make it this far is I'm gonna make it all the way, and I'm gonna be alone.
Interesting. So you think this is your punishment from who? Who's punishing you?
I don't know.
The powers that be?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna be alone. I'm the youngest of everybody. I'm the youngest of all your siblings. I'm the youngest of mine. I'm the youngest of all my first cousins. I'm gonna be like the crazy lady stuck with nobody in a nursing home by myself.
Okay, so number one, you felt shame with that based on your body language and your answer. You felt shame admitting that you didn't think you were going to live long.
I didn't plan making it this far.
Yeah. So thoughts of suicide, I know that there were more than just thoughts. When did those start? How old were you?
I was in like 6th or 7th grade.
Do you still fantasize about it sometimes?
Yeah, but I would never act on it.
Because I know the answer, but I'm curious to hear it.
I love my life now. I'm trying to learn how to love it and learn to love myself, but I would never leave all of you. I couldn't do that.
So when you talk about you'll be alone in a nursing home, is Aria going to put you there? Because you're going to have Aria.
Yeah, but then after I went on this tangent, Anthony literally looks at me. And he's like, because I'm starting to have a panic attack and crying. I'm like, I'm going to be alone. He's like, can you just stop?
Was this before or after Shane Gillis?
It was after.
So full on edible set in.
Oh no, this was the next day. This was yesterday.
Oh, so this is completely
this
sober.
was a sober conversation.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's go.
We had Aria. This was after we got home yesterday. After we went to the cemetery, went home, and we were sitting there drinking coffee. Oh, that's what triggered it. We were sitting there drinking coffee at the kitchen table, having like little donuts.
Where'd you get the little donuts?
Instacart. I Instacarted groceries and got little donuts.
Oh, they were those ones that he likes, huh?
Yeah.
Those gross ones.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not jealous then.
The tasty cakes or whatever the fuck they are.
No,
The
those are gross.
Entenmann's. Yeah. And that was the first time we'd done that in the house. And that used to be my Sunday nights all the time growing up, is my grandfather would have coffee and sweets, and that's how we would end every Sunday night.
And now you're in that house.
Yeah, in the house. It triggered me because he was one of the last ones. And so I'm like, I'm going to be the last one. Oh, no. And then Anthony had the worst reaction, and he's like, stop it. Just automatically, like, stop. I was like, no. You're supposed to be comforting me right now, not being like, stop it. I was like, get over here and give me a hug. I was like, how about you get up and come over here, because I'm having a fucking panic attack.
So you wanted him to be able to just sit in it with you and be there, not fix it, and not tell you to disassociate. You just wanted him to be in it with you.
Yeah.
Understood.
And then he's like, oh, sorry. And then got up, sat next to me. I'm like...
We give him such a hard time. I think sometimes we need to be softer with him because we really do have these big expectations for him.
He tries, and then he was like, I'm sorry, I should not have just told you just to stop feeling your feelings.
But our feelings are big, and they're scary, and they're hard for other people to sit in it. And I think that's why you and I probably both do shield other people from them, because we do. It's a lot. But I want to get back to that. So what is it about the idea of you being the last one and alone that brings up so much grief and feelings and emotions?
I'm not sure. I'm always the one to take care of everybody else, and then I'm like, there'll be nobody left when I need it, and I'll just be alone. And then Aria looks at me, she's like, it's okay, mommy, I'll take care of you. I'm like, do I trust you to take care of me?
Oh, there we go, the lack of trust. I feel you.
The trust issues are real.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I feel like, again, I go ping pong back and forth on that spectrum. But for me, I feel like I deserve to be alone, and that no one should have to get stuck taking care of me. And I think that when I look back at all my relationships, because I don't want to say I've had a lot, but I mean, I've been married and divorced twice, and that was hard. I used to have a lot of shame with it. I don't anymore. But I went through, the whole scene of the dating apps that traumatized me in its own way. Have had some situationships, one that was absolutely a nightmare that I still regret. But when I look back and I reflect, the common denominator in all of that was me. And so I just feel like I'm this really hard person to be around and this hard person to love. And I naturally, too, I think as women in general, we just are wired to be nurturers and to take care of other people. And so for me, I'd rather be taking care of someone else than have someone take care of me. And that goes back to that codependency thing.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like I deserve to die alone. But at the same time, like I was talking to him yesterday, we were able to have a lot of good alone time. I had said to him, like, first of all, so our sister, right? I don't think she'll mind me saying her name, but I'm not going to say it until I ask permission. But having a conversation with her, and I was talking, it was the context of interactions with a guy. And as I was talking, I just see her face changing, and I just kept talking. And, then I stopped and I let her give her input, and she laughed, but then her face got sad. And she said, it makes me really sad that you see green flags as red flags. She's like, a lot of these things that you're saying are actual green flags, but you're seeing them as red flags. And she's like, you really have become cynical. And you weren't always like that. And
Which
I was just
ones
like,
in particular?
Which what flag?
Yeah. Tell me the flags. I want to know them. I'll tell you if they're red, yellow, or green.
Well, I mean, some of them we talked about already. I gotta be careful. I'm at a place in my life where, especially now, with being a caregiver to Luke, I do not want to engage in some type of serious relationship in the sense of, I don't ever want to be married again. And so many of my friends and people are like, you say that now. But I'm happy for people who that's for them. I don't feel I need it. Do I, in some point, imagine my life, I will want a lifetime romantic partner? Yes. I will not need to be married to feel the commitment. But right now, I'm still doing a lot of healing. But also, it's like I can only give to Luke. And so it wouldn't be fair to a partner. And then at the same time, I think no one would possibly want me. If you talk to my ex-partners and all the things they believe and say about me, they would be like, stay clear. She is the biggest red flag. And that's
They
fine.
are the biggest red flags. I know both of them. I've known both of them, and they're the red flags there.
I think that I've dated a lot in the few years that I was on dating apps, right? I went on dates. I kept the journal. I have that podcast that I started and didn't finish because of a lot of things, this being one of them. I'll go back to it someday. But I kept a journal, and it was this just whole deep dive into trying to understand men, because maybe it would help me find my person someday. And I don't really necessarily anymore believe in one person, because I think there's many opportunities to have different loves. It's a choice, right? Mm-hmm. But I started seeing this pattern, and every guy thinks he's different. Every guy thinks he's the exception. And I have this poem that one day I'll share it. But it's basically they're all a bunch of fucking boys, and I'm sick of it. I work so hard doing this work in myself and healing and becoming self-aware and trying to stop that negative self-talk of that I'm the hard one to love, right? Because that's essentially a lie. Mm-hmm. And so I have to keep interrupting those thoughts. And then you come across these guys and they're all the same. I don't care how great of a guy you are. I have people that still slide in my DMs that are married, some that are Christian men, that they want a picture or a date or flirtation. Yeah. And that goes back to the trust thing that we've talked about. But there's so many red flags that I see, and it boils down to not wanting to be emotionally aware, emotionally present. Part of it is the conditioning from whatever their family units were, our culture. But like, yes, I want to be submissive to a man. I do. I want a man to lead me. I want a man to allow me to flourish in my feminine. Mm-hmm. But that is really hard to find a man when all that are out there are boys who are unwilling to confront their most wounded parts, unwilling to confront the child in them that never felt loved or good enough.
Yeah.
They don't want to feel their emotions.
No, there's some of the most emotionally unavailable people.
And it is, like you see it in your own family, you see it in your friends, you see it in potential romantic partners. So why on earth would I want to be able to say, yes, I want this person to be a life partner? You better believe that before I choose someone to say that I'm investing the rest of my life, should it play out that way, because people evolve and change, and sometimes people just go in different directions, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think that you still can evolve in different directions and still choose to love that person and evolve together separately and still be intertwined. Mm-hmm. I wholeheartedly believe that. I see that in very few older couples. But so for me, I think that I naturally turn a lot of green flags into red flags because of fear.
Yeah.
But also because I can see the unwillingness to confront things in themselves. They want to be these leaders of their families, in their relationships, but they're unwilling to do the hard work to work out their own demons and their own like mental health. And that pisses me off. I'd rather be a self-sufficient, independent woman who can turn to a man when she wants or needs certain things.
Yeah.
And
when
then,
it suits you.
Yeah, but also be able to have a nurturing friendship. That's important to me too. So I kind of did not answer any of your questions at all of what those flags are. I think one of them is like, is this too good to be true?
Yeah, waiting for the other shoe.
Yeah, of being like, there's no way that this person's actually like this. They're playing me. Mm-hmm. And that's the cynic in me, and that's also me being hurt before. But I legitimately will sit there with a person who has given me no reason to distrust them. There's absolutely not one thing really. And then I'll go to you and be like, is it my intuition? Because my intuition has yet to be wrong about anybody or anything.
Yeah.
Or is this my cynicism?
Yeah. It's hard to know the difference.
Yeah. And you said that the other day. It could be either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, no matter what, you're going to get hurt. But so I tend to do that aversion. I'm that the attachment style of the avoidant. It tends to be what I go towards, is that avoidant. But yeah, it made me sad because it's not just in a potential partner either. It's within our world because of this whole situation.
Yeah, it's literally everything.
The court system, the medical system, the insurance system, whether car or medical. I literally have seen the worst of the worst, and you get to the nitty gritty. And even the way I vote is now different because of what we have experienced. And it makes me so angry. But I don't see many green flags. A lot of them are yellow, which I think is a good thing. But a lot are red. And I never used to be that person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I look at a lot of this, just kind of made me less naive to things. So, yeah.
Yeah. Our drive over the weekend, we used to be in the car a lot together. Back when Anthony and I first started dating, I feel like we drove down to see Esther a lot.
That's true. We did take a lot of trips, yeah.
Little road trips and did a bunch of shit. And then driving around, like when we did this past weekend, I'm like, man, so much has changed since when we used to do this.
So much. And again, going back to the first episode, I mean, we've known each other for how long now? We really have.
15 years.
We have done a lot of life together, but it's kind of crazy when you think about it in small increments and add it all up. Because we were doing that the other day together too, and we were like, even technology has changed so much in that time.
Yeah, but even our conversations now are different. And then we've both evolved separately, but it still works because it's the conversations that we have now. If we played them for ourselves 15 years ago, having conversations in the car, they were completely different.
We wouldn't have believed it, I don't think.
No.
And I'm glad that we both have evolved the way we have. I'm glad that we've also been able to stay close through all of it and respect each other. Because I don't know that I've ever had like this conscious, with sibling-wise, like this conscious, they won't like me if I share this part about me that's changing, or this belief system that's changing. I've never had that, but I've had that with friends or other family members of like, this is going to rock the boat. And even this podcast alone is going to rock the boat for some people in our circles, whether family or friends. And I'm okay with it. Yeah, I'm thankful that we've evolved and changed a lot, but we've also, it's been hard. We both have had hard lives separately, and then since we've known each other, things have just continued to be rocky. And actually, if we can bring that up, I don't even remember if during all this you and I have talked about it, but there is someone in our family who will remain nameless that believes that the family is cursed, but also specifically that I am a curse to the family. This microphone.
It's just getting lower and lower.
And so sometimes I like to use that as a ha ha ha. That's how powerful I am. I know, but this one, it like slides, it's sliding this way towards me. And this one won't turn anymore. I'm not that strong. I've got weak fingers.
You've got tiny fingers.
Tiny everything. Sorry. Tiffany made a comment yesterday. She's like, you have not done the accent once today. It's interesting. It's only when you're with Nicole. So some of our family members get very annoyed that we do it.
That's fine.
Yes, the whole curse thing is funny. What do you think about that? Have I ever asked your opinion on that?
Yeah, no, we're not cursed. You're not cursed. Nobody's cursed. It's fine. It's
life.
Just life is just shit sometimes.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people just get randomly chosen to have a harder life than others. And some people skate through and they don't have to deal with trauma or anything. I know people that have had a cupcake life.
Yeah.
And they haven't had to deal with anything or worry about anything. And it makes them different.
Different how?
Not ready for the real world.
Mm.
It's
Maybe.
a conversation him and I had before this, is some people, they just don't, trying to find the right words to not piss people off. Not that people are soft. It's just that it makes you naive to a point that, like, you haven't had to worry about anything. You haven't experienced loss. You don't have friends in your circle that have experienced anything either. So it's just you walk through life with a, oh.
Well, it's hard to know how to show up for people if it's not something you've experienced. Where we had lost our dad, and the amount of people we knew that lost a parent or a sibling since we lost our dad has been numerous. And as siblings, we've just always known you don't wait, you don't ask what you need, you just show up. And sometimes it's just a presence of being in the room and sharing space and allowing them to grieve whatever that may look like in the moment. And people who haven't gone through things don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think I don't wish hardships on people, but in some ways I do.
Yeah. And I've never seen siblings like you guys. I have two siblings, and they were a lot older than me, so they had their own lives by the time I was 10. I didn't get to experience what you guys are.
Other people have said people either think it's really weird or they admire it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, yeah, I know we're different, and other times I'm like, but why? Always.
I'm not sure what it is. It's been 15 years and I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's amazing. As an outside person who's now an inside person,
That's
it's
true, you are.
a
You're
different
stuck.
perspective.
And not everyone can just hang out with each other, like, or sibling-wise, right? There's some that you can only be around them for small spurts of time before you're like, okay, I need a break, which I think is completely valid and okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to it, we're there for each other, and you can work through some shit to get to the other side. And I've always tried to be a bridge while respecting if someone needs space from another person or even me, giving them that space. But no matter what, allowing that person to be their own.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thankful for our siblings, because even though it's just me, you, and Anthony directly doing the big everyday stuff with Luke, it's not just us. I really have felt the support and love from our siblings, even in the sense of, like, when I told our sister that you guys wouldn't be here, she didn't have her girls that day, and she was able to come over and wanting to learn and wanting to do things and understand the crazy charts that I have written up everywhere.
Yeah.
And wanting to get her hands dirty and put the gloves on and do all the things and be humble about it. It's just, it's so nice. And I thought that yesterday, because then, yesterday our brother came and hung out with him, and you just see this joy. He loves when they come see him and his nieces and nephews. But it just felt so good knowing that they all take turns coming and wanting to see him, but genuinely wanting to get their hands dirty and be a part of the work, even though they can't do it every day. And they support us, and just even like text, like, how are you today? So siblings, if you ever listen to this, I can't imagine our brothers will.
Probably not.
Which we should try and get Anthony on here at some point. I would love for him to be a part of an episode, but I don't know.
We'll see if it'll ever happen.
Yeah. So siblings, if you ever listen to this,
You're all amazing.
yeah, thank you for being there for us
Yeah.
and for Luke.
Yeah. And immediately when one of you get here, it's always like, you look at him, you're like, all right, what can I do for you? Do you need this leg massage? Let me massage your neck. Let's stretch you out here. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it's just like they immediately jump in.
Yeah. And like, hey,
And it gives us a breather.
Yeah. Like, do you need to go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
I think
I was like, when was the last time you went to the bathroom?
I think that's what our sister said. Do you need to go to the bathroom and brush your teeth? I was like, why are my teeth furry? I think I brushed them this morning. I can't remember.
It's like, actually, well, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should.
But yeah.
Speaking of which, have you drank your water today?
I have. Before you got here, I drank a lot. So that is the other thing. Her and I are both... Our health is not the best in general. Like, I've always struggled with my health, but I was, right before this, the healthiest that I've ever been. And then Nicole has also struggled with her health in her life. And so we both have a lot that we still have to manage every single day that people don't know about because we just do it, right? You don't
Heart, brain, nervous system, everything.
Yeah, it's literally every day that people don't know how hard it is to just function. And there's a lot of people out there like this that don't talk about the things that ail them every day, but you get used to it. It's your routine. You don't talk about it. You just do it. And so that has been a whole nother factor of this, of being like, oh shit, we can't allow our health to backslide here.
Yeah.
Like,
he can't afford it. We can't afford it.
That's even harder. And so Anthony yelled at me. I was like, did you tell him that I said this? Because he was like, you're not sleeping. And I got like this whole conversation. So I waited till later. I'm like, did you tell him? And she's like, no, he can tell.
He can tell.
You tell
and
him.
then also because you say, oh yeah, I didn't go to bed until like 5 this morning, and then I was up at like 8 or 7. I'm like,
I don't even know
he
how to say
fucking
that.
has observations. He has ears.
So we are trying to hold each other accountable. And anytime we were at a metro facility, they were always really good about, go home and sleep. Did you eat, drink,
We were able to go home and sleep.
And at home, I think any mom would probably relate to it. But you get a cup of coffee and it's not going to be hot by the time you actually get to drink it, if you even get to finish it.
Yeah.
And for food, we don't ever sit down because he can have so much real food pureed a day. But so we're feeding him or Aria or Anthony. Just kidding. Anthony doesn't need to be fed. But
No, he shovels just fine on his own.
a lot of times we're standing when we're eating over the kitchen. Actually, Luke and I used to do that anyhow because we didn't have a dining room table. But anyhow, so you stand and eat throughout the day or you gobble really fast. But
And then
in
feel
general,
like shit afterwards.
we consume so much caffeine because we love it, but we also
Need
do
it
need
to
it.
survive.
But making sure we both have kidney issues. We have to make sure that we're drinking our water and we're really sucking at it. So we take turns being mean to each other.
Yeah, I am.
The other day it was like 4 p.m. She had not even had a sip of water.
I'll go a full day without water. And I even got on my phone this Water Llama app. It's a widget. And you fill it up with water throughout the day.
You also have a water bottle that has...
I literally looked back in the thing because I got a notification from it that I should be drinking more water. And I'm like, all right, I haven't logged anything. Last time I logged something was one day in September. Before that, one day in July. One day in March. I'm like, man, he's like, it's the thought that counts.
Who said it's the thought that counts? Bull
He's
fucking
like,
shit.
He's like, you're trying. I'm like, no, I'm not.
No. So yeah, we yell at each other about the water a lot. We both have water bottles that also say the time markers of when you should be at this level.
And then we have chugging contests throughout the day. It's like, all right, who's going to finish their water first?
So we cannot afford to backslide. So I have tried making a conscious effort. And I would say that this weekend I probably got the most sleep that I've had in a while I'm at home. Sometimes when I'm not at home, I get better sleep. But I forced myself to try at least be in like my head on a pillow by 1 a.m., which is huge. So
yeah, I think you should make that like 11.
I know, because by the time I can simmer everything down, because sometimes I need a journal, or I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We have an app for Luke that we literally journal everything. And I'm like, I haven't entered that in. And if I don't do it today, I'm going to forget by tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So we try, and we need to do better about taking care of ourselves and eating. But I think that moms can relate, because it's like you have all these things when you're at home that you're going to do, but because you have a child or children to take care of, you keep getting interrupted and pulled in every direction. So it's like you never really take care of yourself. So it's like, no, this you have to be a priority. That can probably conclude this episode, huh?
Yeah.
Because he does need to have some meds now. That's what that alarm was.
Yeah, meds and then a protein shake.
And then maybe we'll make ourselves something to eat and have some water.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Mm-hmm. I would like to say, too, I think there's a lot of people who don't drink their water. One of the things that I was going through, I had it written on my bathroom wall for a while, and we had gotten good about holding each other accountable. It would be like if you were feeling some kind of way, whether it be anger, just an uncomfortable, unpleasant emotion, right? to ask yourself like a question, like, am I hungry? Am I tired? Am I thirsty? Do I need to go to the bathroom? And some people, mainly men, will make fun of that whole kind of series. And he did initially, until he started realizing, wait a minute, I have anxiety right now. Wait, no, that's not anxiety. That's actually aggression. I'm having aggression right now. Now I have a headache. I haven't had any water today. I literally only drank coffee and I slept like crap because I was overthinking. There is our nervous system, our bodies literally need sleep, nutrition, and hydration to function properly.
Yeah.
If you do not have those things, you are constantly going to be in that flight or fight mode. And so people can think it's bullshit. I've studied it for a long time. I have a lot of nervous system damage that I know what I need to do. So for me, that's usually the questions like, how much did I sleep? Okay, I need to try and get more sleep. I do the self-checks often. Do I always listen? No.
We should make Anthony do those self-checks.
I can bring my sticky notes up. He'll just not see them.
He's always going to be like, no, I'm hangry.
That is, yes, Aria too.
Constantly.
Those two.
They consume so much food.
Since Anthony was a kid, everyone used to joke that he had a tapeworm. And then it would be like, some family members would be like, it'll catch up to him someday. Wait till he hits his 20s. It has not caught. Like, because everyone would be like, he's just all of a sudden going to gain a ton of weight and be like super obese because he eats a ridiculous amount. But that boy's metabolism is different.
No, there's something wrong there. There's definitely something wrong there. I told him the other day, I'm like, you have some mystery illness that one day we're going to find out what it is. And we're going to be like, that makes sense.
Well, it's interesting because I didn't know this until recently. You know, I have the biggest sweet tooth, and it's very easy to push you over the edge because you have a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
So I can be a bad influence.
You derail the train
so
every
easily,
day.
and I love it. I take pride in being like, because we don't keep junk food in the house. Well, we didn't.
We do now.
Now.
Fucking constant apple pie and ice cream.
So anyhow, I don't even know where I was going with that. So with Anthony, every time I've been like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't eat that, or it's too much sugar, or oh my gosh, I'm going to gain weight. I need to be careful. I gain weight really easily. And then my health doesn't do so well. And your response, what have you and him both always say to me when I say something about like some of the eating habits lately we've picked up? It's like, bulk season.
It's bulk season.
And I get so annoyed because I'm like, okay.
It's the wintertime. Nobody's going to see us. It's fine.
I'm going to hibernate and fatten up. The other day, he's like, stop, I can't have that, like with the apple pie. And I'm like, why? It's bulk season. And he's like, no, you dumbass, because my teeth. I have shitty teeth. He's like, how do you not know? And I'm like,
he's constantly bitching about his teeth. Constantly.
I have no idea. He has my mom's teeth.
Constantly
we all do.
Bitching about it.
But yeah, so anyhow.
It's like, no, that's hurting my teeth. I'm like, maybe you should go to the dentist instead of just bitching about your teeth for 2 fucking years.
Boys, go to the doctor for preventative or for actual needs. I don't think I know one that would just voluntarily go. Okay, I can't go down. No, we can't go on a man.
A man
boy
It will
tangent.
never end.
Us girls have our own issues, so.
Oh yeah.
All right, we will end and conclude this episode. Thank you for chatting with me, Sarah.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. We'll be back.
The Mushy Pod is co-hosted by Christina Irene and Nicole Alyssa. Theme song is Discovery by Zaz Melomania. If you enjoy our podcast and want to support us, there are several ways you can help. You can contribute to our GoFundMe page to assist with our living expenses, as we have stepped away from our jobs to care for Luke and are currently a no-income household. Alternatively, you can send items from our Amazon wishlist, including out-of-pocket essential supplies and tools for Luke. You can find these links to those sites by visiting our MushyPod linktree. You can connect with us on Instagram and YouTube at TheMooshyPod and on TikTok at the.mushy.pod. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share our podcast with someone you think would love it. Thanks for listening.